Greetings, listeners. We're back, once again, to talk to you about the Cthulhu mythos, its books, its monsters, its unfortunate human casualties, its timeline in general, and even its tangential bits, like the Dreamlands, or things of a weird nature, or things that are Lovecraftian leaning, weird fiction, science fiction, horror, learn of terrible meetings in lonely places, of cyclopean ruins and vast staircases that lead down to abysses of nighted secrets, of complex angles that lead through invisible walls to other regions of space and time, and of hideous explorations in remote and forbidden places, on other worlds, and in different time-space continua. From the creation of our galaxy to the death of the sun, this is an exploration of the Cthulhu mythos from the perspective of humans' concept of history. We are the People's Guide to the Cthulhu mythos. You can find us at pgttcm.com, pgttcm.podbean.com, and you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. The People's Guide to the Cthulhu mythos starts now.
The People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos. Season 8.
Greetings and welcome to The People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos. I am your host, D.B. Spitzer, and between episodes, 107 and 134, we will be talking about The Beetle. The Beetle, a Mystery, is a 1897 horror novel by British writer Richard Marsh. To tell you about it is to spoil it. So check it out, and that'll be going on from now until sometime in December. This episode is brought to you by FoundOutOnClothing.com and BunnySlippers.com. Subscribe to PGTTCM with DB Spitzer and Seraphy. Wherever you subscribe to podcasts, we prefer Podbean and Apple Podcasts. Check out the new website over at PGTTCM.com and check out the merch table over at PGTTCM.threadless.com. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at PGTTCM, or check us out on YouTube at People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos. Edited by Daniel Spitzer. Music by Kevin MacLeod, featuring the HiveGhost Story, Ghost Processional, Oppressive Gloom, and our theme song, The Chamber.
Recording
Chapter
by
42,
Icy Jumbo.
The Quarry Doubles.
The Beetle by Richard
I
Marsh.
turned towards the booking
Chapter
office
3,
on the main departure
The Man
platform.
in the Bed.
As I went, the chief platform inspector,
The
George
illumination
Bellingham,
which
with whom I
instantly
had some
followed was
acquaintance, came out of
unexpected.
his office.
It
I
startled
stopped
me,
him.
causing a moment's
Mr. Bellingham,
check,
will you be
from
so
which
good
I
as
was
to step
just
with me to the
recovering
booking
when a
office
voice said,
and instruct the clerk
"Keep
in charge
still."
to answer one or two questions
There
which
was
I
a
wish to
quality
put
in
to
the
him?
voice which I cannot
I will explain
describe.
to you afterwards what
Not
is their
only an
exact
accent of
import,
command,
but you know me
but of
sufficiently to
something
be able to
malicious,
believe me when
or
I say
something
that they refer
saturnine.
to a matter in which
It
every
was a
moment
little
is of the
guttural,
first importance.
though whether it was a man
He
speaking,
turned
I
and
could not
accompanied
have
us into
positively
the
said,
interior of the booking
but I
case.
had no doubt it
To
was a
which of the
foreigner.
clerks, Mr.
It
Champnell,
was
do you
the
wish to
most
put your
disagreeable
questions?
voice I had ever
To the one
heard,
who issues
and it
third-class
had on
tickets
me
to
the most
Southampton.
disagreeable effect.
Bellingham beckoned to
For
a
when
man
it
who was
said,
counting a
"Keep
heap of
still,"
money, and apparently
kept
seeking
still.
to make it tally
It
with
was
the
as though
entries
there
in the
was
huge
nothing
ledger
else for me
which lay
to do.
open before him.
Turn
He was a
around.
short, slightly built young fellow,
I turned round
with a pleasant
mechanically,
face and
like
smiling
an
eyes.
automaton.
Mr. Stone, this
Such
gentleman
passivity
wishes
was
to
worse
ask
than
you one or two
undignified.
questions.
It was galling.
I am at his service.
I knew that well.
I put my
I
questions.
resented it with
I want to know,
secret
Mr.
rage.
Stone, if
But
in the
in
course
that
of the
room,
day you have
in
issued
that
any
presence,
tickets to a
I was
person dressed in
invertebrate.
Arab costume.
When
His
I
reply
turned,
was prompt.
I found
I
myself
have,
confronting
by
someone
the last
who was
train,
lying
the
in a bed.
7:25,
At
3
the head
singles.
of the bed was a shelf.
3 singles.
On the shelf
Then my
was a
instinct
small
had told
lamp,
me rightly.
which gave the most
Can you
brilliant
describe
light
the
I had
person?
ever seen.
Mr.
It
Stone's eyes
caught me full
twinkled.
in the eyes,
I don't know
having
that I
on me
can,
such a
except in a
blinding
general
effect
way.
that for some
He was
seconds
uncommonly
I could see
old and
nothing.
uncommonly ugly,
Throughout
and
the
he had
whole
a
of
pair of
that
the most
strange
extraordinary
interview,
eyes I ever
I
saw.
cannot affirm that I
He
saw
gave me a
clearly.
sort of
The
all-overish
dazzling
feeling when I
glare
saw them
caused
glaring at me
dancing
through a
specks to
pigeonhole.
obscure my vision.
But I can tell you one thing
Yet,
about him.
after an
He
interval
had a
of
great
time,
bundle on his
I
head,
did see
which he
something,
steadied with one
and
hand.
what I did see,
And as it
I had
bulged out
rather
in
have
all
left
directions, its
unseen.
presence didn't make him popular with
I
other
saw
people
someone
who
in front
wanted
of me
tickets too.
lying in a bed. I
Undoubtedly,
could
this
not
was
at
our
once
man.
decide if it was a man or a woman.
You are sure he asked for
Indeed,
3
at
tickets?
first I doubted if it was
Certain.
anything human.
He said 3 tickets
But
to Southampton.
afterwards, I knew
Laid
it
down
to
the
be a
exact
man.
fare, 19
For
and
this
6,
reason,
and
if
held
for
up
no
3
other,
fingers like
that
that.
it was
3
impossible such a
nasty-looking
creature
fingers they
could be
were, with
feminine.
nails as long as talons.
The bedclothes were
You
drawn
didn't
up
see
to his
who were his
shoulders.
companions?
Only his
I
head was
didn't.
visible.
I didn't try to look.
He lay on
I
his
gave
left
him his
side,
tickets, and off
his
he
head
went,
resting
with the
on his
people
left
grumbling
hand,
at him because that
motionless,
bundle of his kept getting in
eyeing
their
me
way.
as if he sought to read my
Bellingham touched me on
inmost
the arm.
soul.
I can
And,
tell you all about
in
the
very
Arab
truth,
of whom Mr.
I
Stone
believe he
speaks.
read it.
My attention
His
was called
age
to
I
him by
could
his
not
insisting
guess.
on taking his
Such a
bundle
look
with
of
him
age I
into
had
the
never
carriage.
imagined.
It was an
Had
enormous
he
thing. He
asserted
could
that
hardly
he had been
squeeze it through
living
the
through
door.
the ages,
It
I should have been
occupied the
forced to
entire
admit
seat.
that, at least,
But
he
as there
looked
weren't
it.
as many passengers as
And
usual,
yet I felt that it
and
was
he
quite
wouldn't
within
or
the range of
couldn't be made to
possibility that he
understand
was no
that his
older than
precious bundle
myself.
would be safe in the luggage
There
van
was a
along with the rest
vitality
of
in
the
his
luggage.
eyes which was startling.
And as he wasn't the
It
sort of
might have
person
been
you
that
could
he had been
argue with to
afflicted
any
by some
advantage,
terrible disease,
I had him put
and it
into
was
an empty
that which had
compartment.
made him so
Bundle and all.
supernaturally ugly.
Was he alone then?
There was
I
not a
thought so at
hair
the
upon
time.
his
He
face
said
or
nothing
head,
about having more than
but
one
to make
ticket
up
or
for
any
it,
companions.
the skin, which
But
was a
just before the
saffron
train
yellow,
started, 2
was
other
an
men,
amazing mass
Englishmen,
of wrinkles.
got into his
The
compartment.
cranium,
And as I
indeed
came
the
down the
whole
platform,
skull,
the ticket
was so
inspector at the
small
barrier
as to be
informed me that
disagreeably
these 2 men
suggestive
were
of
with him.
something animal.
Because he held tickets for
The
the
nose,
3,
on the other hand, was
which, as he was
abnormally
a foreigner,
large.
and they seemed
So
English,
extravagant
struck
were
the
its
inspector as
dimensions,
odd.
and so peculiar
Could you
its shape,
describe the 2 men?
it resembled the
I
beak of
couldn't.
some bird of
Not
prey.
particularly, but the man who
A
had charge of the
characteristic of
barrier
the
fight.
face, and
I
an
was at the other end of the
uncomfortable
train when they
one,
got
was
in.
that practically
All
it
I
stopped
noticed
short
was
at
that
the
one
mouth.
seemed to be a
The
commonplace-looking
mouth,
individual,
with its
and the
blubber
other
lips,
was dressed
came
like a tramp,
immediately under
all
the
rags
nose,
and tatters,
and chin,
disreputable
to all
looking object
extents
he
and
appeared to be.
purposes, there was none.
That, I said to myself,
This
was Miss
deformity,
Marjorie Linden,
for the
the
absence
lovely
of chin
daughter of a
amounted to
famous
that,
house,
it
the
was
wife-elect
which
of a
gave to
coming
the face
statesman.
the appearance of something
Bellingham,
not
I
human.
remarked aloud,
That,
I
and
want
the
you to
eyes,
strain a point, Mr.
for so
Bellingham,
marked a
and
feature
do
of the
me a
man were
service
his
which I
eyes,
assure you,
that,
you shall
ere
never
long,
have any
it
cause to
seemed
regret.
to me that he was
I
nothing
want
but
you to wire
eyes.
instructions down the line to
His
detain
eyes
this Arab
ran,
and his
literally,
companions,
across
and
the
to keep
whole
them in
upper
custody
portion
until
of
the
his
receipt of
face.
further instructions.
Remember, the face was
They are not wanted
unwontedly
by the
small,
police as yet,
and
but
the
they will be
columnar
as
of
soon
the
as I am
nose
able
was
to give certain
razor-edged.
information to the
They
authorities
were
at Scotland
long,
Yard.
and they looked out of
wanted very
narrow
badly.
windows, and
But,
they
as you
seemed to
will
be
perceive
lighted
for
by
yourself,
some
until I'm
internal
able to give
radiance,
that information,
for they
every
shone
moment is
out like
important.
lamps in a lighthouse
Where's the station
tower.
superintendent?
Escape
He's gone.
them I
At
could
present, I'm in
not,
charge.
while,
Then
as
will
I
you do this for
endeavored to
me?
meet them,
I repeat
it
that you
was
shall
as if
never
I
have any
shriveled
reason
into
to regret it.
nothingness.
I will, if you'll
Never
accept all
before had I
responsibility.
realized what was meant by the power
I'll
of
do
the
that with
eye.
the greatest pleasure.
They held me
Bellingham looked at his
enchained,
watch.
helpless.
It's about 20 minutes to 9.
Spellbound.
The train's scheduled for
I felt that they
Basingstoke
could
at
do with me
9:06.
as they would.
If we wired to Basingstoke
And they
at
did.
once, they ought to be ready for them when
Their
they come.
gaze was unfaltering, having
The
the
wire was sent.
bird-like trick of
We
never
were shown into
blinking.
Bellingham's office to
This
await
man
results.
could have glared at me
Lessingham
for
paced
hours,
agitatedly
and
to
never
and fro.
moved an eyelid.
He seemed to have reached the limits of his
It was he who
self-control,
broke the silence.
and to be in a condition
I was
in which
speechless.
movement of some sort was an
Shut
absolute
the window.
necessity. The
I did as he
mercurial
bade
Sidney,
me.
on the contrary,
Pull down
leaned
the
back in a
blind.
chair, his
I
legs
obeyed.
stretched out in front of him, his hands
Turn
thrust
round
deep
again.
into his trouser pockets,
I was still
and stared
obedient.
at Lessingham as if
What
he
is
found
your
relief
name?
to his feelings in
Then
watching
I
his
spoke,
companion's
to answer
restlessness. I,
There was
for my
this
part,
odd
drew
thing
up
about
as
the
full a
words I
précis
uttered,
of the case
that
as I
they
deemed
came
advisable,
from me, not
and
in
as time
response to
permitted,
my
which I
willpower,
dispatched by
but
one
in
of the company's
was to
police
his.
to Scotland Yard.
It was not
Then I
who
turned to
willed
my
that I should
associates.
speak.
Now,
It was
gentlemen,
he.
it's past dinner time.
What he
We may
willed
have a
that
journey
I
in
should
front of
say,
us.
I
If you
said.
take my advice, you'll have something
Just
to
that,
eat.
and nothing more.
Lessingham shook his head.
For the
I want
time,
nothing.
I was no longer a
Nor
man.
I, echoed Sidney.
My manhood was
I
merged in
started up.
his.
You must
I
pardon my
was,
saying
in the
nonsense, but
extremest
surely you
sense,
of all men,
an
Mr.
example
Lessingham,
of
should be
passive
aware that you will
obedience.
not improve the situation by
Robert
rendering
Holt.
yourself incapable of seeing
What
it
are
through.
you?
Come and
A
dine.
clerk?
I
You
hailed
look
them
as
off
if you're
with
a
me,
clerk.
willy-nilly, to the
There was a
refreshment
flame
room.
of scorn in his
I
voice
dined,
which scorched
after a
me
fashion.
even then.
Mr. Lessingham
What sort of
swallowed
a clerk
with
are
difficulty
you?
a plate of soup.
I am out of a
Sidney
situation.
nibbled at a plate of the most
Don't look as
unpromising
if you were
looking
out of
chicken
a
and ham.
situation.
He proved
Again,
indeed more
the score.
intractable than Lessingham,
Are
and
you
was
the
not
sort
to
of
be
clerk
persuaded
who
to
is
tackle
always out of
anything
a
easier of
situation?
digestion.
You are a thief.
I was just about
I
to
am
take
not a
cheese
thief.
after chop
Do
when
clerks come
Bellingham
through the
came
window?
hastening in
I
his
was
hand an
still.
open
He
telegram.
was putting no
The
constraint
birds
on
have
me
flown,
to
he
speak.
cried. Flown? How?
Why did you come through the window?
In reply, he gave me the
Because it was
telegram.
open.
I glanced at it.
So, do you
It ran,
always come through a window
Persons
which is
described
open?
not in the train.
No.
Guard says
Then
they got
why
out at
through this?
Vauxhall.
Because
I've
I was
wired
wet
Vauxhall to
and
advise you.
cold and
That's a
hungry.
level-headed chap,
and
said
tired.
Bellingham. The man who sent that
The words
telegram.
came
His
from
wiring
me as
to
if he had
Vauxhall
dragged
should
them
save us a
one
lot
by
of time.
one, which
We
in
ought to hear
fact
from
he
them
did.
directly.
Have you no
Hello,
phone?
what's this? I shouldn't be
No.
surprised if this is
Money?
it.
No.
As he spoke, a porter
Friend?
entered. He handed
No.
an envelope to Bellingham.
Then what sort of a clerk
We all
are
three
you?
kept our eyes fixed on the
I did
inspector's
not
face
answer
as he
him.
opened it.
I did not
When he
know what
perceived
it
the
was he
contents, he
wished me
gave
to
an
say.
exclamation of
I was
surprise.
the victim of bad luck.
This Arab of
Nothing
yours
else.
and his two
I swear
friends
it.
seem rather a curious lot, Mr. Chapman.
Misfortune had followed
He
hard
passed
upon
the paper on to
misfortune.
me.
The firm
took the
by
form
whom
of
I
a
had been
report.
employed for years
Lessingham and
suspended
Sidney,
payment.
regardless of forms and
I obtained a
ceremonies, leaned over
situation
my
with one
shoulder
of their
as I read it.
creditors at a lower
Passengers
salary.
by 7:30
They
Southampton
reduced
on
their
arrival of
staff,
train
which
complained of
entailed my
noises
going.
coming from a compartment in coach
After an
8964.
interval, I obtained a
Stated
temporary
that there had been
engagement,
shrieks and yells
an
ever since the
occasion
train
which
left
required
Waterloo,
my services
as
past,
if someone was
and I
being
with
murdered.
it.
An
After
Arab and two
another
Englishmen
and a
got
longer
out of the
interval,
compartment in
I
question.
again found temporary
Apparently, the party
employment.
referred to
The
in
pay for
wire just
which
a
was
hand
but a
from
pittance.
Basingstoke.
When that was
All
over,
three
I
declared
could
that there
find
was nothing the matter,
That was
that
9
they had been
months
shouting
ago,
for fun.
and since then I have
Arab
not
gave
earned a
up
penny.
3/3 singles for
It
Southampton,
is so
saying
easy
in
to grow
reply to
shabby
questions
when you are
that
on
they
the
had
everlasting
changed their
tramp
minds and did
are
not want to
living
go
on
any
your stock
farther,
of clothes.
as there were no
I
signs
had
of a
trudged
struggle
all
or
over
violence,
London in search of
nor
work.
apparently any definite
Work of
cause
any
for
kind
detention
would
they
have
were
been
allowed to
welcome,
pass.
so long as it would
They
have
took a
enabled me to
four-wheeler,
keep body
number
and soul together,
09435.
and I had trudged in
The Arab
vain.
and one man went
Now I
inside,
had been
and the
refused
other man on
admittance
the
as a
box.
casual.
They asked
How
to be
easy
driven
is
to
the
Commercial
descent.
Road, Limehouse.
But I did not
The
tell the
cab
man
has since
lying on the
returned.
bed all
The
this.
driver says he put the
did not
three men
wish to
down
hear.
at their request
Had
in
he
Commercial
wished,
Road
he
at
would
the
have made
corner
me
of
tell him.
Sutcliffe Street, near the East
It may
India
be that
Docks.
he read my story,
They walked up Sutcliffe
unspoken
Street,
though it was.
the Englishman in front
It is
and the Arab
conceivable.
behind. Took
His
the first
eyes
turning
had
to the
powers
right,
of penetration
and after
which
that
were
he saw nothing
peculiarly
of them.
their own.
The
That
driver
I
further
know.
states that all the way the
André.
Englishman inside, who
When
was
he
so
spoke
ragged
again,
and dirty that he was
what he
reluctant
said,
to carry him,
in those guttural tones
kept
of
up a
his in
sort
which
of
there was a
wailing noise which
reminiscence
so
of some
attracted his
foreign
attention
land.
that he twice got off his box to see
I
what was the
obeyed,
matter.
letting my
And each
sodden,
time he said it
shabby
was nothing.
clothes fall
The
anyhow
cabman
upon the
is of
floor.
opinion that both the
A
Englishmen
look
were of
came on
weak
his
intellect.
face as I stood
We were of the
naked in
same
front of
impression
him,
here.
which,
He said
if
nothing,
it was
except
meant
at
for
the
a smile,
seeming
was a
instigation of the
satyr's
Arab,
smile,
but when
and which
spoken
filled
to,
me with a
stared and gaped
sensation
like
of shuddering
lunatics.
repulsion.
It may be mentioned that the
What a
Arab
white
had
skin
with
you
him
have.
an enormous
How
bundle,
white.
which he
What
persisted,
would I
in
not
spite of
give
all
for a skin as
remonstrances,
white as that?
on taking with him
Yes.
inside the cab.
He paused,
As soon as I had mastered
devouring
the
me with his
contents of the
glances,
report
then
and perceived
continued,
what I believed to
"Go
be,
to the cupboard.
unknown to
You
the
will
writer
find a
himself,
cloak.
its
Put it on."
hideous inner meaning, I turned to
I
Bellingham.
went to a cupboard which
With
was
your
in a
permission,
corner of the
Mr.
room,
Bellingham,
his
I will
eyes
keep this
following me as I
communication.
moved.
It will be safe in
It
my
was full
hands.
of
You will be able
clothing,
to get a copy,
garments
and it may
which
be
might have
necessary
formed
that
the
I should
stock in
have the
trade of a
original to show to the
costumier,
police.
whose specialty was
If any
providing
inquiries are
costumes
made
for
for me from
masquerade.
Scotland Yard,
A long,
tell them
dark
I've gone to
cloak
Commercial
hung on a
Road
peg.
and that I will report my
My hand
movements from
moved
Limehouse
towards
Police
it,
Station.
apparently of its
In
own
another
volition.
minute, we were once more
I put it
traversing
on,
the streets of
its
London.
ample folds
Three in a
falling to
handsome
my
cab.
feet. In the other cupboard you will
End of
find
chapter
meat
42.
and bread and wine. Eat and drink. On the opposite side of the room, near the
It
head
is
of his
something of a
bed,
drive from
there was a
Waterloo
second
to
cupboard.
Limehouse.
In this,
It seems
upon a
longer
shelf,
when all your nerves
I
are
found
tingling
what
with
looked like
anxiety
pressed
to reach your
beef,
journey's end,
several round
and the
cakes
cab
of
I
what
had hit
tasted
upon
like
proved to
rye
be
bread,
not the
and
fastest I
some
might have
thin,
chosen.
sour wine
For some
in a
time after our
straw-covered
start,
flask.
We were silent.
But I was
Each
in
was
no mood
occupied
to
with his own
criticize.
thoughts.
I
Then
crammed
Lessingham,
myself,
who
I
was sitting
believe,
at my side,
like some
said to me,
famished wolf.
Mr. Champ, now,
He
you
watching
have that
me
report?
in silence all
I
the
have.
time.
Will you let me
When
see
I
it
had
once
done,
more?
which was when
I
I had
gave it to
eaten
him.
and drunk as much
He
as
read
I
it
could
once,
hold,
twice, and I
there
fancy
returned
yet
to his
again.
face that satyr's
I
grin.
purposely avoided looking at him as he
I
did
thought
so.
that I could eat
Yet
and
all
drink
the
like
while
that.
I was conscious of his
Yes.
pallid cheeks,
Put back
the
what is
twitched
left.
muscles of his mouth,
I
the
put it
feverish
back,
glitter of his
which
eyes.
seemed an unnecessary
This leader
exertion.
of men,
There was
whose
so little
predominant
to put.
characteristic in the House of
Look me
Commons
in the
was
face.
immobility, was
I
rapidly
looked him in the
approximating
face,
the condition
and
of a
immediately
hysterical woman.
became conscious
The
as I
mental
did
strain
so
which he had been
that
recently
something was
undergoing
going
was
from
proving
me.
too much for his
The
physical
capacity,
strength.
as it were, to be
This
myself.
disappearance of the woman he loved
His eyes grew
bade
larger
fair to be the
and
final straw.
larger, till they
I
seemed
felt
to
convinced
fill
that
all
unless something
space,
was done
till
quickly
I
to relieve
became
the strain
lost
upon his
in their
mind, he was
immensity.
nearer to a state of complete
He
mental and
moved
moral
his hand,
collapse
doing
than he himself
something to me.
imagined. Had he
I
been
know
under my
not what,
orders, I should have
as
commanded
it
him to at
passed
once
through
return
the air,
home, and not to
cutting the
think.
solid ground from
But
underneath my
conscious
feet,
that, as things were, such
so
a
that I
direction
fell
would be simply
headlong to the
futile,
ground.
I decided
Where
to
I
do
fell,
something else instead.
There I lay,
Feeling that suspense was
like
for
a
him
log.
the worst possible form of suffering,
and
I
the
resolved to
light went
explain, so
out.
far as I was able, precisely what it was I
End of
feared and
chapter
how I
3.
proposed to prevent it. Presently there came the question for which I had been waiting, in a harsh, broken voice, which no one who had heard him speak on a public platform
Chapter 4.
or in the House of
A
Commons
lonely
would have
vigil.
recognized as his.
I knew
Mr.
that the light
Chapman,
went out.
who do you think this
For
person
not the
is of
least
whom the
singular,
report from
nor
Vauxhall
indeed
Station
the least
speaks as
distressing
being
part
all
of
in
my
rags and
condition
tatters?
was the fact that,
He knew
to the best
perfectly
of my
well,
knowledge
but
and
I
belief,
understood the mental
I never
attitude which
once
induced
lost
him to
consciousness
prefer
during
that the
the long
information
hours
should
which
seem
followed.
to come from me.
I was
hope that
aware
it
of
will
the
prove to be
extinction
Miss
of the
Linden.
lamp, and of
Hope?
the black darkness which
He gave a
ensued.
sort of gasp.
I heard
Yes,
a rustling
hope,
sound,
because if it
as
is,
if
I
the
think
man in
it
the bed
possible,
was settling
nay
himself
probable,
between
that
the
within a
sheets.
few hours you will have her
Then
again
all was
enfolded in
still.
your arms.
And
Pray
throughout
God that it may be so.
interminable
Pray
night
God.
I remained,
Pray the good
my
God.
brain awake,
I did
my
not
body
dare to
dead,
look round, for
waiting,
from the tremor which was
watching
in his
for the
tone,
day.
I was persuaded
What
that in
had
the
happened
speaker's
to me,
eyes were
I could
tears.
not guess.
Atherton
That I
continued
probably
silent.
wore some of the external
He was leaning
evidences
half out of the
death,
cab,
my
staring straight
instinct
ahead,
told me.
as if he saw in
I
front of
knew
a
I
young
did.
girl's face, from which he could not remove
Paradoxical
his
though it
glance,
may
and which
sound,
beckoned him
I
on.
felt as a man might feel
After a
who
while,
had actually
Lessingham
died,
spoke again, as if half to
in
himself
moments
and
of
half to me.
speculation in the days gone
This
by,
mention of
I
the
had
shrieks
imagined
on
it
the railway,
quite possible
and of the
that he
wailing
would
noise
feel.
in the cab.
It
What
is
must
very
this
far
wretch have
from
done to her?
certain that feeling
How my darling
necessarily
must have
expires
suffered.
with what we call life.
That was a theme on which I myself
I
scarcely
continually
ventured to
asked
allow my
myself
thoughts
if
to
I
rest.
could be dead.
The notion of a
inquiry
gently
pressed itself
nurtured
on me with
girl
awful
being at the mercy
iteration.
of that fiend
Does the
incarnate,
body die,
possessed,
and
as
the
I
brain,
believe that
the
so-called
I,
Arab
the
to be
ego
possessed,
still live
of
on?
all the paraphernalia of
God
horror
only
and of
knows.
dread,
But then,
was one which
the
caused me
agony of the
tangible
thought.
shrinkings of the body. Whence
The
had come those
hours
shrieks
passed.
and yells, of which the writer of the
By
report
slow
spoke,
degrees,
which
the
had caused the
silence was
Arab's
eclipsed.
fellow passengers to think that murder was
Sounds
being
of
done?
traffic,
What
of hurrying
unimaginable
footsteps,
agony had caused
life
them?
were ushers
What
of the morn.
speechless torture? And the
Outside
wailing
window,
noise,
sparrows
which had
twittered.
induced the
A
prosaic
cat
injury
mewed.
London
A
cabman
dog
to get
barked.
twice off his
There was
box
the clatter
to see
of a
what
milk
was the
can.
matter. What anguish had
Shafts
been
of light
provocative of
stole
that?
past the blind,
The helpless
increasing
girl
in
who had
intensity.
already endured so much,
It still
endured
rained.
perhaps
Now and
that to
again
which
it
death
pattered
would have been
against the
preferred.
pane.
Shut
The
up in
wind
that
must have
rattling,
shifted,
jolting box on
because
wheels,
for the
alone
first
with that
time
diabolical
there came on a
Asiatic,
sudden the
with the
clang of a
enormous
distant
bundle,
clock
which was
striking
but
the
the
hour.
lurking place of nameless
7.
terrors. What might she not,
Then,
while being
with the
born through
interval
the
of a
heart of
lifetime
civilized
between
London,
each chiming,
have been made to suffer?
8.
What had she
9.
not been made to suffer to have kept
10.
up that continued wailing noise?
So far,
It was
in
not
the
a
room
theme
itself,
on which
there
it
had
was
not
wise
been
to
a
permit
sound.
one's thoughts to linger.
When the
And
clock had struck
particularly
10,
was it
as it
clear
seemed
that
to
it was
me
one from
years
which
ago,
Lessingham's thoughts
there
should have
came
been
a
kept as
rustling
far
noise
as possible
from the
away.
direction of the bed.
Come, Mr. Lessingham,
Feet
neither you
stepped
nor
upon the
I will
floor,
do himself any
moving
good by
towards
permitting
where I
his
was
reflections to flow in
It
a
was,
morbid
of course,
channel.
now broad
Let us
day,
talk of something
and
else.
I presently
By the way,
perceived
weren't
that
you
a
due to
figure,
speak in the House
clad in
tonight?
some queer-coloured
Due?
garment,
Yes, I was
was
due.
standing at my
But what does
side,
it matter?
looking down at me.
But you have acquainted no
It
one with the
stooped,
cause of your
bent down.
non-attendance.
My only
Acquaint?
covering
Whom
was
should I acquaint?
unceremoniously thrown
My
from
good
off
sir,
me,
listen to me,
so
Mr.
that I lay
Lessingham.
there in my nakedness.
Let me entreat you very earnestly to
Fingers
follow
prodded
my
me
advice.
then and there,
Call
as if I
another
had been
cab,
some
or
beast
take
ready
this,
for the
and
butcher's
go at
stall.
once to the house. It is
A
not too
face
late.
looked into mine,
Play the man,
and
deliver
in
the
front of
speech
me
you have
were
undertaken
those
to
dreadful
deliver.
eyes.
Perform your political
Then,
duties.
whether I
By
was
coming
dead or
with me,
living,
you will be a
I said
hindrance
to
rather
myself
than a help,
that this could be
and you may
nothing
do your
human,
reputation an
nothing
injury
fashioned in
from which it
God's
never may
could wear
recover.
such a shape as that.
Do as I counsel you, and I will
Fingers
undertake to
were
do
pressed
my
into
very
my
utmost
cheeks.
to let you have good
They were
news by
thrust
the
into
time
my
your
mouth.
speech is finished.
They touched my
He
staring
turned on me
eyes,
with a bitterness
shut
for which
my
I was
eyelids,
unprepared.
then opened them again.
If I were to go down
And,
to the house
horror of
and
horrors,
try to speak in the state in
blubber
which I
lips
am
were
now,
pressed to
they would
mine.
laugh at me.
The
I should be
soul of
ruined.
something evil
Do you not
entered
run
into
an
me in
equally
the
great
guise
risk
of
of
a
being
kiss.
ruined by staying away?
Then this travesty
Gripped
of
me by
manhood
the arm.
reascended to his feet
Mr. Champnell,
and said,
do you know that I am
whether
on the verge
speaking
of
to me or
madness?
to himself, I could
Do you
not
know
tell.
that as I am sitting
Dead.
here by your side,
Dead,
I am
as
living
good
in a
as
dual
dead,
world?
and better. Well,
I am
having
going
said it,
on and on to catch that
he moved away from me.
and I am back again in
I
that
heard a
Egyptian
door
den
open and
upon
shut,
that couch of
and knew
rugs,
that he was
with the
gone.
woman of the songs beside me.
And he continued
And Marjorie
on
is being
throughout the
torn
day.
and tortured and
I
burnt
had
before
no
my
actual
eyes.
knowledge of his
God
issuing
help
out
me,
into
her
the
shrieks
street,
are ringing in my
but he must
ears.
have done so
He
because
did
the
not
house
speak
appeared
loudly, but his
deserted.
voice was nonetheless impressive
What
on
had
that
become of
account.
the dreadful creature of the
endeavored
night
my
before,
hardest to be
I
stern.
could not guess.
I confess
My
that you
first
disappoint
fear
me,
was
Mr.
that he had
Lessingham.
left it behind him in the
I
room
have
with
always
me.
understood that you were a
It
man
might
of
be
unusual
as a
strength.
sort of watchdog.
You appear instead to be a
But
man
as
of
the minutes and the
extraordinary
hours
weakness,
passed,
with
and
an
there was still
imagination
no
so
sign or
ill-governed
sound
that
of
its
anything
ebullitions
living,
remind
I
me of nothing
concluded
so
that,
much as
if
feminine
the thing was
hysterics.
there, it was
Your
possibly
wild
as helpless
language
as
is not
myself,
wanted by
and that
circumstances.
during its owner's
I
absence,
repeat that I
at
think
any
it
rate,
quite
I
possible
had
that by
nothing to
tomorrow
fear from
morning
its too
she will
pressing
be returned to
attentions.
you. Yes, but how?
That,
As
with
the
the
Marjorie I
exception
have
of
known,
myself,
as I
the
saw her
house held
last,
nothing
or
human.
how?
I had strong
That was the
presumptive
question
proof
which I had
more than
already
once
asked
in the
myself.
course of the day.
In what condition would she be when
Several
we had
times,
succeeded in
both in the
snatching her
morning
from
and
her
the
captor's
afternoon,
grip?
people
It was a
without
question to
endeavored
which I had
to attract
refused
the
to supply an
attention of
answer.
whoever was within.
To him I lied by
Vehicles,
implication.
probably tradesmen's
Let us hope
carts,
that, with the
drew
exception
up
of
in
being a
front,
trifle
their
scared,
stopping
she will
being
be as
followed by
sound
more
and
or
hale
less
and hearty
assiduous
as ever
assaults
in her
upon the
life.
knocker and the bell.
Do you yourself believe
But
that
in
she'll be
every
like
case,
that?
their appeals
Untouched,
remained
unchanged,
unheeded.
unstained?
Whatever it was they
Then I
wanted,
lied right out.
they had to go
It seemed
unsatisfied
to me
away.
necessary to calm his growing
Lying there,
excitement.
torpid,
I do.
with nothing to do
You
but
don't,
listen,
Mr.
I was
Lessingham.
possibly struck
Do you
by
think that
very
I
little,
can't see your face
but
and
it
read
did
it in the
occur to
same
me
thoughts
that
which
one
trouble
among
me?
the callers was more
As a man of
persistent
honor,
than
do
the
you
rest.
care to deny that when Marjorie
The
Linden
distant
is
clock
restored to
just
me,
struck
if she
noon
ever is,
when I heard the gate
you
open,
fear she will
and
be
someone
but the mere
approached the
soiled
front
husk
door.
of the Marjorie whom I knew and
Since
loved.
nothing but silence followed,
Even supposing
I
that there may
supposed
be a
that the
modicum of
occupant
truth
of
in
the
what
place
you
had
say,
returned,
which
and
I am
had
far
chosen
from
to
being
do
disposed
so
to
as
admit.
silently as
What
he had
good
gone.
purpose do you propose to serve by
Presently,
talking
however,
in such a
there came
strain?
from the doorstep a slight
None.
but
No
peculiar
good
call,
purpose.
as if
Unless
a
it
rat
be the
was
desire
squeaking.
of looking the truth in the face.
It was repeated 3
For,
times,
Mr. Chapnell, you
and
must
then
not
there
seek
was
to
the
play
sound
with
of
me, the
footsteps
hypocrite,
quietly
nor try to
retreating,
hide
and
things
the
from
gate
me as if I
reclosing.
were a child. If
Between
my life
1
is
and
ruined,
2,
it
the
is
caller
ruined.
came again.
Let me know it and
There
look
was a
the knowledge in
repetition
the
of the
face.
same signal.
That to me is
That it
to
was a
play the
signal I
man.
did not doubt.
I was silent.
Followed by the
The
same
wild
retreat.
tale he told me of that
About
carrion
3, the
inferno,
mysterious
oddly
visitant
enough,
returned.
yet why,
The signal
oddly,
was
for the
repeated,
world is it all
and
coincidence,
when there was no
had thrown a
response,
flood of light on
fingers
certain
tapped
events
softly
which had
against the
happened some
panels of the
3
front
years
door.
previously, and
When
which
there was
ever
still
since
no
had
answer,
remained shrouded in
footsteps
mystery.
stole softly
The
round the
conduct
side
of
of the
the
house,
business afterwards
and
came
there
into
came
my
the
hands,
signal from
and
the rear.
briefly, what had
And
occurred
then
was
again,
this.
tapping of the fingers against what
3
was,
persons,
apparently,
2 sisters
the
and their
back door.
brother, who was younger than
No
themselves,
notice being
members
taken
of a
these
decent
various
English family,
proceedings,
were going on a
the
trip around
footsteps
the
returned
world.
the way they went.
They were young,
and,
adventurous,
as before,
and, not
the
to
gate
put
was
too fine a
closed.
point on it, foolhardy.
Shortly after
The
darkness
evening
had
after
fallen,
their arrival
this
in Cairo,
assiduous caller
by way
returned
of what is
to
called
make
the
a full
lark,
and
in
more
spite of the
resolute attempt to
protestations
call
of people who
attention
were
to his
better
presence.
informed than themselves,
From the
they
peculiar
insisted on
character
going
of his
alone,
maneuvers,
for a
it
ramble
seemed
through the
that he
native quarter.
suspected that whoever was
They
within
went,
had
but
particular
they never
reasons for
returned.
ignoring him without.
Or rather, the 2 girls never
He went through
returned.
the familiar pantomime
After an
of the
interval,
3
the young
squeaky
man was
calls,
found again,
both at the front
what
door
was
and
left
the
of him.
back.
A
Followed
fuss
by
was
the
made
tapping
when
of
there
the
were no
fingers on
signs
the
of their
panels.
reappearance, but as there were no
This time,
relations,
however,
nor even friends
he
of
also
theirs,
tried the
but only
window
casual
panes.
acquaintances
I
on
could
board
hear
the ship by
quite
which they had
distinctly
traveled,
the clear
perhaps
yet
not so great
distinct
a fuss
noise
as
of what
might have
seemed
been,
like knuckles
was made.
rapping against the windows
Anyhow,
behind.
nothing was discovered. Their
Disappointed
widowed
there,
mother,
he
alone in
renewed his
England,
efforts at the
wondering
front.
how it was that beyond
The
the receipt of
curiously
a brief
quiet
wire
footsteps
acquainting
came
her
round
with
the
their
house
arrival at
to
Cairo,
pause before
she
the
had
window
heard
of
nothing
the room
further
in
of their
which I
wanderings,
lay.
placed
And
herself
then
in
something
communication with
singular
the diplomatic people over there, to learn
While I
that, to
waited
all
for the
appearances,
tapping,
her 3
there
children
came
had
instead
vanished
the
from off
sound
the
of
face of the
someone
earth.
or something
Then a fuss was
scrambling
made
onto
with
the
a vengeance.
windowsill.
So
As if
far as
some
one can
creature,
judge, the whole
unable
town
to
and
reach
neighborhood
the
was
window
turned
from the
pretty well
ground,
upside
was
down,
endeavouring to
but
gain
nothing came of it.
advantage of the sill.
So far as any results were
Some
concerned,
ungainly
the
creature,
authorities might just as
unskilled
well
in
have left the
surmounting
mystery of
such
their
an
banishment
obstacle as a
alone.
perpendicular
It
brick wall.
continued where it was in spite of them.
There was the noise
However,
of what
some 3
seemed
months
to be the
afterwards,
scratching
a
of
youth was
claws,
brought to the British
as if
embassy
it
by a party
experienced
of friendly
considerable
Arabs,
difficulty
who
in
asserted
obtaining
that
a
they had
hold on
found
the
him naked
unyielding
and
surface.
nearly dying in some
What
remote
kind of
spot in
creature
the
it was,
weedy
I
Haifa
could not
desert.
think.
It was the brother of the 2 lost
astonished to find
girls.
that it was a creature at all.
He was as nearly dying
I
as
had
he was
taken it
very
for
well could
granted
be
that the
without being
persevering
actually
visitor
dead when they
was
brought him
either
to
a
the
woman
embassy.
or a man.
and in a state of
If,
indescribable
however,
mutilation.
as now seemed likely,
He seemed
it
to
was some
rally
sort
for a
of
time
animal,
under careful treatment,
fact
but he
explains
never
the
again
squeaking
uttered a
sound.
coherent
Though
word.
what except a rat
It was
did
only from
squeak
his
like that
delirious
was more than I
ravings
could
that any
say,
idea was formed
and
of
the
what really
absence of any
occurred.
knocking or ringing.
Shorthand notes were taken of some of the
Whatever it
utterances
was,
of his
it
delirium.
had gained the summit of its
Afterwards,
desires,
they were submitted
the
to me.
windowsill.
I remembered
It
the substance
panted
of them
as if
quite
its
well,
efforts at
and when
climbing
Mr.
had made
Lessingham
it
began
short
to
of
tell me
breath.
his own hideous
Then
experiences,
began the tapping.
it came back to me more
In the
clearly
light
still.
of my new discovery,
Had I laid those notes
perceived
before
clearly
him, I
enough
have little
that the
doubt
tapping was
but that he
hardly
would have
that which was
immediately
likely to be
perceived
the
that
product of
17 years
human
after the
fingers.
adventure which had left
It
such
was
an
sharp
indelible scar
and
upon his own
definite,
life,
rather resembling
youth,
the striking
he was
of the
little more
point
than
of
a
a
boy,
nail against the
had seen the
glass.
things which he had
It was
seen,
not loud,
and suffered the
but in
nameless
time,
agonies and
it
degradations
continued
which
with
he had
much
suffered.
persistency.
The young
It
man was
became
perpetually
plainly vicious.
raving about some
It
indescribable
was
den of
accompanied by
horror,
what I can
which was
only
own brother
describe as
to
the most
Lessingham's temple,
extraordinary
and about
noises.
some female monster,
There were
whom
squeaks,
he regarded
growing
with such
angrier
fear
and
and horror,
shriller as the minutes
that every
passed.
allusion made to
What
her
seemed
was
like
followed by a
gaspings for
convulsive
breath, and a
paroxysm which
peculiar
taxed all
buzzing
the
sound,
ingenuity of
like,
his medical
yet
attendants to
unlike,
bring
the
him out
purring
of.
of a cat.
He frequently called upon his
The
sisters by
creature's
name,
resentment
speaking
at
of
its
them in a
want of
manner which
success in
inevitably
attracting
suggested
attention
that
was
he had been an
unmistakable.
unwilling and helpless
The
witness
tapping
of
became
hideous
like the
tortures which
clattering
they
of
had undergone.
hailstones. It
And
kept
then
up a
he would rise in
continuous
bed
noise with
screaming,
its cries and
"They're
panting.
burning them! They're burning them!
There was the
Devils!
sound
Devils!"
as of some large
And at
body
those
being
times it
rubbed against the
required all the
glass,
strength of those
as
who
if
were
it
in
were
attendance
extending itself
to
against
restrain
the
his
window
maddened
and
frenzy.
endeavouring, by
The
force
youth
of
died
pressure,
in one of these
to gain
fits
an
of great
entrance through the
preternatural
pane.
excitement, without, as I
So
have previously
violent did
written,
its contortions become
having given
that
utterance
I
to one single
momentarily
coherent
anticipated
word,
the yielding
and
of
by
the
some of
glass,
those who were best
and
able
the
to judge
excited
it was
assailant
held to
coming
have been a
crashing
mercy
through.
that he did die without
Considerably
having
to my
been
relief,
restored to
the
consciousness.
window proved more
And
impregnable
presently,
than seemed at
tales
one
began
time
to be
likely.
whispered about some
The
idolatrous
stolid
sect,
resistance proved,
which was
in
stated
the
to have
end,
its
to be
headquarters
too
somewhere in
much
the
either
interior
for
of the
its
country,
endurance or its
some
patience.
located in this neighborhood
Just
and
as I
some
was
in that,
looking for some
which was
fresh
stated to still
manifestation of
practice
fury,
and to always
it
have
seemed
practiced
rather
in
to tumble
unbroken
than to
historical
spring off the
continuity
sill.
the debased,
Then
unclean,
came, once
mystic,
more,
and bloody
the same
rites
sound
of
of
a form
quietly
of
retreating
idolatry which
footsteps,
had had its birth
and
in a
what,
period of
under
the
the
world's story which
circumstances,
was so
seemed
remote
odder still,
that to all intents
the
and
same
purposes
closing
it
of
might
the
be
gate.
described as prehistoric.
During the 2 or 3 hours
While the
which
ferment was
immediately
still at its
ensued,
height, a man
nothing
came to
happened
the
at
British
all out of
embassy
the
who
way.
said that he was a member of a
And then
tribe
took place
which
the
had
most
its habitat on the
surprising
banks of the
incident of
White
all.
Nile.
The
He
clock
asserted
had
that
struck
he was
10
in association
sometime
with this
before.
very idolatrous
Since
sect,
before the
though he
striking of the
denied
hour,
that he was one of the
nothing
actual
and no
sectaries.
one had passed along
He did
what
admit,
was
however,
evidently the
that
little
he had
frequented
assisted
road
more
in
than
front of
once
that
at their
uncanny
orgies,
house.
and declared that it was
On
their
a sudden,
constant
2
practice to
sounds
offer
broke
young
the
women as
stillness without,
sacrifices,
of someone
preferably
running,
white
and of
Christian
cries.
women, with a special
Judging from
preference,
his
if they
hurrying
could get
steps,
them, to young
someone
English
seemed
women.
to be flying for his
He
life.
vowed that he
to the
himself had seen
accompaniment
with
of
his own
furious
eyes English
cries.
girls burnt
It
alive.
was only when the runner
The
reached the
description
front
which
of
he
the
gave
house
of
that,
what preceded
in
and
the
followed
cries,
these
I
foul murders
recognized
appalled
the
those who
squeaks of the
listened.
persistent
He
caller.
finally wound up offering, on
I
payment
imagined
of his
that he had
stipulated sum of
returned,
money,
as
to guide a
before,
troop of
alone,
soldiers to this
to
den of
renew his
demons,
attacks
so that
upon
they
the
should
window,
arrive there at the moment when
until
it was
it was
filled
made
with
plain,
worshippers
as it
who
quickly
were
was,
preparing to
that
participate
with him was some
in an
sort of a
orgy which was to
companion.
take place during the next few
Immediately
days.
there arose
His
from
offer
without
was
the
conditionally
noise of
accepted.
battle.
He was
2
confined
creatures
in an
whose
apartment
cries
with one
were,
man on
to
guard
me,
inside
of so
and another
unusual
on
a
guard
character
outside the room.
that I found it impossible
That night
to
the
even
sentinel
guess at their
without was
identity.
startled by hearing a
Seemed
great
to be
noise and
waging
frightful
war to the
screams
knife
issuing
upon
from
the
the chamber,
doorstep.
in which the native was
After a minute or
interned.
2 of
He
furious
summoned
contention,
assistance.
victory
The
seemed
door
to
was
rest
opened.
with one of the
The
combatants,
soldier on
but
guard
the other
within
fled,
was stark staring
squeaking as
mad.
with pain.
He died within a few
While I
months,
listened,
a
with
gibbering
strained
maniac to
attention
the end.
for the next episode in
native
this
was
queer
dead.
drama,
The window,
expecting
which
that
was a
now
very
would
small
come
one,
another
was
assault
securely
upon the
fastened
window,
inside and
to my
strongly barred
unbounded
without.
surprise, I heard
There
a
was
key
nothing to
thrust
show
in the
by what
keyhole.
means entry
The
had
lock
been gained,
turned,
yet
and
it
the
was
front
the
door
general general
thrown
opinion of
open with a
those who saw the
furious
corpse
bang.
that the man had been destroyed by
It was
some wild
closed as
beast.
loudly as it was
A
opened.
photograph was taken of the
Then the
body
door
after
of the
death,
room in which I
a copy of which is
was
still in my
dashed
possession.
open with the same display
In
of
it are
excitement
distinctly
and of
shown
clamour.
lacerations about the neck
Footsteps
and the
came
lower
hurrying
portion
in.
of the abdomen,
The door was
as if they had
slammed
been
to
produced
with
by
a
the claws
force
of
which
some
shook
huge
the
and
house to
ferocious
its
animal.
foundations.
The skull is
There was
splintered
a
in half a
rustling
dozen
as of
places, and the
bedclothes.
face is torn
The
to
brilliant
rags.
illumination of
That
the
was
night
more than
before,
3 years ago.
and a voice which
The
I
whole
had only
business has
too
remained
good
as great a
reason to
mystery as
remember,
ever.
said,
But my
"Stand up."
attention has once or twice been
I
caught
stood
by
up
trifling incidents
automatically
which
at
have
the
caused
word of
me to
command,
more than suspect
facing
that the
towards
wild
the
tale
bed.
told by that murdered native
There,
had in it at
between the
least
sheets,
elements of
with
truth,
his head resting on
and
his
which
hand,
have even led me to
in the
wonder if the
attitude in
trade
which
in
I had seen him
kidnapping
last,
was not being
was
carried
the
on
being
to
I
this
had
very
made
hour,
acquaintance with
and
under
if
the
women of my own
circumstances
flesh
which
and
I was
blood were
never
not still
likely to
being offered
forget.
up on that infernal
The
altar.
same,
And now
yet
here was
not
Paul
the
Lessingham,
same.
a man of worldwide reputation, of
End
great
of
intellect,
chapter 4.
of undoubted honor, who had come to me with a wholly unconscious verification of all my worst suspicions, that the creature spoken of as an Arab, and who was probably no more an Arab than I was, and whose name was certainly not Mohammed el-Kir, was an emissary from that den of demons, I had no doubt. What was the exact purport of the creature's presence in England was another question. Possibly part of the intention was the destruction of Paul Lessingham, body, soul, and spirit. Possibly another part was the procuration of fresh victims for that long drawn-out holocaust. That this latter object explained the disappearance of Miss Linden, I felt persuaded. That she was designed by the personification of evil, who was her captor, to suffer all the horrors at which the stories pointed, and then to be burned alive, amidst the triumphant yells of the attendant demons, I was certain. That the wretch, aware that the pursuit was in full cry, was tearing, twisting, doubling, and would stick at nothing which would facilitate the smuggling of the victim out of England, was clear. My interest in the quest was already far other than a merely professional one. The blood in my veins tingled at the thought of such a woman as Miss London being in the power of such a monster. I may assuredly claim that throughout the whole business I was urged forward by no thought of fee or of reward. To have had a share in rescuing that unfortunate girl, and in the destruction of her noxious persecutor, would have been reward enough for me. One is not always, even in strictly professional matters, influenced by strictly professional instincts. The cab slowed. A voice descended through the trapdoor. "This is Commercial Road, sir. What part of it do you want?" "Drive me to Limehouse Police Station." We were driven there. I made my way to the usual inspector behind the usual pigeonhole. "My name is Champnell. Have you received any communication from Scotland Yard tonight, having reference to a matter in which I am interested?" "Do you mean about the Arab? We received a telephonic message about a half an hour ago. Since communicating with Scotland Yard, this has come to hand from the authorities at Vauxhall Station. Can you tell me if anything has been seen of the person in question by the men of your division?" I handed the inspector the report. His reply was laconic. "I will inquire." He passed through a door into an inner room, and the report went with him. "Beg pardon, sir, but was that a Harab you was talking about to the inspector?" The speaker was a gentleman unmistakably of the gutter-snipe class. He was seated on a form. Close at hand hovered a policeman, whose special duty it seemed to be to keep an eye upon his movements. "Why do you ask?" "I beg your pardon, sir, but I saw a Harab myself about an hour ago. Leastways, he looked like as if he was a Harab." "What sort of looking person was he?" "I can't hardly tell that, sir, because I didn't never have a proper look at him. But I know he had a bloomin' great bundle on his head. It was like this 'ere. I was comin' round the corner as he was passin'. I never see him till I was right atop of him, so that I accidentally run agin. My hey, didn't it give me a downer? I was down on my back of my head in the middle of the road before I knew where I was, and he was at the other end of the street. If he hadn't knocked me more'n half silly, I'd been after him sharp, I tell you, and asked him what he thought he was a-doing, but afore my senses was back again, he was out of sight clean." "You are sure that he had a bundle on his head?" "I noticed it most particular." "How long ago did you say this was, and where?" "About an hour ago. Perhaps more, perhaps less." "Was he alone?" "It seemed to me as if a cove was a-follerin' him. Leastways, there was a bloke as was a-keepin' close at his heels. Though I don't know what his little game was, I'm sure. Ask the pleesman. He knows everything the pleesmen do." I turned to the pleesman. "Who is this man?" The pleesman put his hands behind his back and threw out his chest. His manner was distinctly affable. "Well, he's being detained upon suspicion. He's given us an address at which to make inquiries, and inquiries are being made. I shouldn't pay too much attention to what he says if I were you. I don't suppose he'd be particular about a lie or two. This frank expression of opinion re-aroused the indignation of the gentleman on the form. There you are, at it again. That's just like you peelers. You're all the same. What do you know about me? Nothink. This gentleman ain't got no call to believe me, not as I knows on. It's all the same to me if you do or don't. But it's truth what I'm saying all the same. At this point, the inspector reappeared at the pigeonhole. He cut short the flow of eloquence. Now then, not so much noise outside there. He addressed me. None of our men have seen anything of the person you're inquiring for, so far as we're aware. But if you like, I will place a man at your disposal, and he will go round with you. And you'll be able to make your own inquiries. A capless, wildly excited young ragamuffin came dashing in at the street door. He gasped out as clearly as he could for the speed which he had made. There's been a murder done, Mr. Pleasman. A Harrop's killed a bloke. Mr. Pleasman gripped him by the shoulder. What's that? The youngster put up his arm and ducked his head instinctively, as if to ward off a blow. Leave me alone. I don't want none of your handlin'. I ain't done nothing to you. I tell you he has. The inspector spoke through the pigeonhole. He has what, my lad? What do you say has happened? There's been murder done. It's right enough there has. Up at Mrs. Anderson's in Paradise Place. A Harrop's been and killed a bloke. End of chapter 43.